Welcome back to the show. All right, I am super excited for so many reasons. Number one, this gentleman right here that's joining me has one of my favorite channels on the interwebs. I love Cronk the Book Guy. No one takes a deep dive like Cronk the Book Guy. So, so
no
happy
one goes
to be
as overboard, as
no, not at all.
long-winded.
No, I love the channel. I love to watch your stuff. You bring up such insightful things and you take the time that so many other people don't do. Really love the channel. But number two, I can't wait for book 4. I've read all 3 of your books at this point, Michael Cronk, and I have to tell you, I'm looking as forward to book 4 coming out as some of my favorite series that I've been reading for years. Like, these characters have so entirely got under my skin. This world is so appealing to me. So what we kind of thought is like, you have read my book. I have read your books.
That's exactly
right.
We're
both here on the YouTubes. So we thought, you know what? Let's just get together and do the twofer interview back and forth.
It's a world first, ladies and gentlemen. Never done before in the history of mankind. We've got 2 booktubers and 2 authors who are going to simultaneously interview each other about each other's books. It's going to be a madhouse. It's going to be chaos.
I'm gonna put all my chips on. It'll probably never happen again after people see this. we'll see. We're gonna do our best. But I've got some questions for you. You've got questions for me. Let's just go back and forth. But I want to start with my first question because this one actually is a burning question for me. Also, for everyone that's tuning in, I'm going to do my best. I'm sure Michael will try and do his best as well. We're going to try and keep things as spoiler-free as possible. So everyone kind of hang out, hear about these books or these 4 books, see if it's something that intrigues you. But I don't think we're going to try and get so deep that we spoil anything or ruin anything for you if you haven't checked them out yet. We're going to do our absolute best.
That's entirely right. Yeah. So, and also in case anyone hasn't noticed, so I've read John's book, Discovery. I think it's a masterpiece. I really love it. John's read my 3 books, The Immortal Investigation. I should say 3 short books compared to 1 long book. You can measure value according to that somehow, I'm sure. But we're both, look, I'm a fan of your book. So there's at least one way here. So
I'm a huge fan.
I'm dying here. Come on, man. There we go.
Yeah, I have to tell you. Rarely do I do one indie read a month, right? And when I did the first book, Immortal Investigations, there was like, okay, this is taking over my slot for 3 months because I love to move it around and give love to a lot of places or pick up a lot of different things. Right when I finished book 1, I knew the next 2 months I'm going to have to read the next 2 books. There's no way that I'm going to be able. It's a potato chip read. There was no way I was going to be able to pick up just one. So huge fan. And I think you're going to tell how much of a huge fan I am by my very first question.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to hit you with the hard stuff here first, Michael. You ready? Okay. How goes book 4? Because I need it.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So here's a fun little story I'll share with you. Okay. So book 4 is progressing. It's going to be slightly bigger. I think books 2 and 3 were between 120,000 to 130,000. Book 4, I'm just giving myself 150. So slightly bigger, probably around 500 pages. But here's the thing. I cannot believe it. I've encountered a problem I've never encountered before. Like, I've written a few books. You'd think by now I would know what I'm doing. But I got completely surprised by a new problem. So because my books are mystery books, right?
Yes.
You want to get to the inciting incident as soon as possible. It's like in crime shows. You want to find the dead body before the first commercial break. You know, you want to get that hook in. And so one of the things I try to do in these books is get to that incident as early as possible. So it's like chapter 5 in book 1, then it's chapter 7, and then it's chapter 1 in book 3. I was really proud of that one. For book 4, I was like, you know what? I think I've earned a bit of trust from my readers. Yes. I'll do a little bit of character building. I'll do a little bit of world building and then some foreshadowing. The next thing I know, I'm 10 chapters in and I still haven't gotten to the point of the book. Like, no, how did I do this? I don't understand how this happened. So I've had to go back. I've just shoehorned it into chapter 1, and now I've got to go and rewrite the 50,000 words I had and do a continuity write to make it all fit. And it got a lot messier than I intended. So overall, like, it's working. What's got on the page is good, and I know where I wanted to end up, but it ended up a bit trickier that I intended. But it's coming. It's definitely coming. I got a lot of goals for this series. So many ideas I want to share with you guys, and I've got to put in the work. Got to
yes,
schedule the time, get it done.
I want to say before you hit me with something, I just have to say one of the huge strengths I think of the first 3 books is that yes, it's very much like a case file series so far in the first 3 books. There is that inciting incident very early. We are off on a case, on a caper, but there is still so much time and space used for these character journeys, and not only of Jason and Sylvana, but the family they're building around them. And we have so many lovely character moments and so much time spent fleshing out this world that we don't recognize, even though it's our own. And that's as enticingly as I can put that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's one of the huge strengths I found of the series is that kept me turning pages was not only the case, not only the caper that they were thrown into, but the relationships and the time spent to get to know these people and to see their journey start to move forward. So yeah, I think you do such a great job at that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no, characters were absolutely the focus. Some of them had me beat my head against the wall to get them to work, but I feel like they worked. I'm really proud of them, and they're, in a strange way, I love them and kind of hate. And I definitely want to get to the next step in their journey for sure.
Well, I want to get to that next step too. I just want to let you know that's my number one burning question for you. So keep finding that chair.
Thank you, man. That is really encouraging, to be totally sincere. Because I was sick most of this week, so I didn't do my weekly writing, so I'm feeling a bit bad about it, but I'll get there next week. That's the goal. Mate, I got a question for you, okay? It's quite simple. Okay. Why horror? Because there's a whole wide world of subgenres of fantasy and sci-fi. Why'd you pick horror, you sick bastard? What's the matter with you, man? Why'd you do
it? I love horror. I love it. It's before I came to BookTube, it was, I would say, 80 to 90% of what I read. When I came to BookTube and started the channel, it was like to kind of catch up. I didn't know about, had never heard about Brandon Sanderson, or Joe Abercrombie, or any of these like big heavyweight writers in that genre, because I was such a horror reader. I loved it. And I think one of the reasons I loved it, and one of the reasons we just gravitated towards it, because, it was my son's initial idea, and he's a chip off the old block, I guess, was because it's such a pure form of storytelling in a way. I've always been trained and always been taught that story and art is a life lived at a heightened sense of reality in a compressed amount of time. And there's no way to get there quicker than if you push the things all the way up to like the fight or flight type situation that horror brings. Yeah. You can cut to the very crux of who a character is faster. You can find out what they really stand for, what they'll really do in the darkest of times, how they'll react, who will they protect or not protect. And I just think it's one of those things that also gives us a safe place to be scared of a world that I find very scary a lot of the times. And it gives us kind of a safe playground to find things to be scary about. So when it came time to write a story or create a world, that was just kind of where I gravitated to. And one of the amazing things I find is that the similarities, and you wouldn't think it, but the similarities between the books we've both put out there. Both of us have like this hidden alternate history, really, that starts to be uncovered and put together piece by piece of how things actually work and why the world is maybe scarier or more unrecognizable than you may think, right? And it's on this journey that gives you, oh, well, that's unbelievably far-fetched and crazy. It gives me something to be tense about, and it gives me a little bit of respite from what I am tense about every day when I get up out of bed and head to work and engage the world, right? So I think for those reasons, and more, it's like I love horror so much. It's like it's just been, I just grew up on Lovecraft and Stephen King and Clive Barker, and it's going all the way back. These were some of the first people that I started reading, and Robert McCammon, and these are just like, it's just where I came from. It's just my happy place.
It's true because I read an article about it a little while ago about why people watch horror films and why people engage with it. And it's a short version is it's exposure therapy. You know, you get exposed to
Yeah.
fear, you learn to be more comfortable. And I like the idea that like we don't actually read and watch horror to be scared. We watch it to be brave. We watch it
Yes.
to experience fear in a safe environment where we can learn to be more confident about it. You know,
Yeah. Well,
it's
it
a
always
powerful
gives us
tool.
that environment. And your books do the same thing, right? It gives us that environment where, ooh, the odds are incredibly stacked against us, but we're
Mm,
following
mm.
these people and we see ourselves in their shoes. We see ourselves on their journey. And we like to think of ourselves in their shoes and their journey, standing up to what they have to stand up to, overcoming unbelievable odds, even in horrific situations, right? It's a journey that I love to take over and over again. And I think, we just wanted to offer that. And I think your books offer the same thing to readers.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I it might be because I'm an Australian, but I always like the underdog story. You know,
Yes.
it's a huge part of Australian culture. I'm not sure if you know, but one of our biggest historic events is the Battle of Gallipoli in World War
Mm.
One, which was a famous defeat, a massive defeat. We just got absolutely destroyed. It was horrible, but it's the thing that we remember the most because it's the spirit of sacrifice, of honor, of legacy. You know, all the heroic deeds that our forefathers did. But that's the one that's stuck in the Australian conscious because we are the underdog. We're the small country on the global scale. We don't really have that much power. And so I think from that perspective, I've always liked characters who are the smallest ones in a world of giants, you know, and that's
Yeah.
absolutely, what I try to do in my stories. Mm.
Oh, you do it. I was just going to say, I love hearing that story because there are true moments of I don't want to give too much. There are true moments when some of your characters don't come out on top in that moment, but it's in those moments that they can really define themselves and know themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's an awesome, enlightening story. Thanks.
Oh, cool. Oh, wait, no, it's your turn for a question.
It's
Sorry.
my turn. I got one for you.
Yeah.
And this is
Okay.
like the one that we all have to ask each other, I think is, um, I do know from watching some of your material, Michael, that you did think about going trad in the beginning. And you
Yep.
did make this shift with the Kickstarter and move into the indie published world. And I just kind of wanted to ask you what your experience was like. Was it what you were expecting? Were there things you did not see coming that were great or not so great? Yeah. I mean, what's it been like? I mean, this has been a huge journey for you. You've dreamed of being a published author for a large chunk of your life, and you have achieved that. I mean, have you taken a moment to give yourself that?
I have tried to take a
Observe
moment
the
many
celebration.
times. I'm working on it. No, great question. Look, I went into it as prepared as I possibly could be. I'm very much an over planner. I'm an overthinker. Do have some perfectionist tendencies, sort of thing. But even with all that preparedness, there was all sorts of things that took me by surprise. Oh man, where to start? So for one, I was surprised at how effective the Kickstarter was. That's a big deal. People really showed up, and it still blows my mind that people did. Like I remember the day we hit launch on the Kickstarter, we clicked the button to make it live, and I clicked it, and I sat there for a moment, and then I clicked refresh out of nervous anxiety, right? And someone had already pledged in that 30-second window.
Wow.
Someone had pledged. And so I never saw the Kickstarter number hit 0 at any point. And I know
what
the
a
guy
huge
who did
achievement.
it. He's one of my patrons. He's a great guy. We chat all the time. And people showed up, and that's something that still I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it for sure. And it's something to remember. Like the book community is a proper community. You know, people care. You know, we're a small group, relatively speaking, but we're a loud group, and we show up for each other for sure. Well, a few things I'll say that surprised me. I was surprised by even being indie, how much I had to rely on retailers and publishers. That was the big surprise. So, like, I had to submit request to my publisher, which is Ingram Spark. They're the ones who print and ship off the books, because I was very determined. I don't want someone to ship the books to me and then I have to package them and ship them off to other people, because I'm in Australia and shipping costs would take so much money. And I didn't want to do that. So yeah, we use the downstream distributor for that. And look, I don't want to slam my publisher publicly, but there have been difficulties. There are times absolutely when I'm like, you guys haven't replied to my email and it's been a few weeks. Come on, man. This is a yes or no question, and that's just, par for parcel. That's how the game works. But there's also things like with Amazon. Oh my goodness. Like when we uploaded the book to Amazon, they uploaded the paperback and hardback as two separate books, and I'm like, no, that's not how we sent you the information, and and then it takes weeks to get stuff sent along. Even still, I think the paperback for book 2, I have sent them 12 different complaints. I've literally kept a tally of 12 complaints, and they're still not fixing it.
Oh wow,
it's driving me a bit crazy.
Yeah.
So honestly, look, Amazon do not care about indie authors who don't go exclusive with them. I was very determined to go wide distribution. My books are across all platforms. No disrespect to anyone who goes exclusive. I completely sympathize, but that was an area of stubbornness for me. But I was surprised by how much everyone gives you the runaround. Like people will message me and be like, "Hey, your book is displayed incorrectly," and I'm like, "But I did everything correctly." And that's a bit frustrating. That's for sure. I am also surprised by the sales amount with audiobooks, because I know that audiobooks are a big moneymaker for authors, but I didn't realize that it's still low even for indie authors, the percentage-wise. I don't want to get too much into the maths of it, but generally speaking, like I know with Audible, everyone's talking about Audible at the moment. If you, the consumer watching this, if you buy my book, I get about 20% of that sale. If I went Audible exclusive, I would get 40% of that sale, right? Thing is, though, if you were a trad publisher, that 20% sale would go to the publisher, and then they would take a slice and then pass it on to me.
And then pass it on to you,
Yeah, so like authors are making, I don't even know the numbers. It's a low, like 10% of the sale for audiobook sales. It's crazy. And even going independent, it doesn't just magically fix the problem, So they've really, got a total monopoly on the market. It's a crazy situation.
Isn't it? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but that's an example of just like, that's something that really surprised me. I thought indie meant I would bypass a lot of these problems, and I'm still butting heads with them. It's still tricky.
Yeah, it is. And what we found, all three of us, right, that are working on these books, is that it's a different side of your brain, right? And when you start dealing with these things that come up, business wise, it's you have to get all your ducks in a row to find your audience on through a venue, or you have to get your stuff out there to find audience. And in answering all those questions, jumping through all those hoops, it takes you away from the creative, right? Like it's hard to get back and find the chair sometimes when you've been zipping emails back and forth or trying to figure these things out. I mean, I think that's one of the things we found, that it's like, wow, we don't have a lot of words on the page this week because there have been a lot of things to deal with.
Total different brain space. Yeah, it's definitely tricky. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, gotcha.
Speaking of, you mentioned the three of you. I had a question about that. I'm fascinated that three people wrote a book together. That's to be a fly on the wall during that process. But if I had one question about that process, it would be, how did you handle disagreements? Because I guarantee you, like, you didn't all agree all the time. Like, how did you solve it? Was it a Nerf gun battle? Was it a democracy vote? Like, was it a boxing ring? Like, how'd you solve it? I really want to know.
There's honestly there were so many disagreements. There's a sliding scale of how we, yes, there's actually a sliding scale of how we handle it. One extreme would be, just storming out, standing up and putting all the research materials together and putting them somewhere and going, you guys do it, or to the extreme of looking each other in the eye and going, no, you're right. And sometimes it was like really, really like big things, that we would just have to, but we always, as we got better as we moved through it, right?
Yep.
In the beginning, it was way harder to navigate because everyone has different creative ideas and everyone has an ego attached to those ideas. And everyone thinks, oh, I think I have a connection to this character that's a little bit deeper than you. And I don't think they would do this. So you try to, come in and be on the side of your character even. And that's when you're really ready to go to the mat. So when we started, we didn't handle it as well as we do now or where we ended up. We started to really take on the rules of like a writer's room that would be like on a Netflix show or a television show, and there was a staff of writers, and all the ideas come in. No ideas are bad, but we all have to work through. And in the beginning, we would have one huge sheet of butcher paper just filled with all kinds of stuff. And as we work through and narrow down and cut aside, we find the ones that work to push the plot and move the character arcs the best that we think we can. And we don't always agree on those. And sometimes we have to give each other time and space to experiment with something that we don't agree on. Like pages would come back and it's like, this is a whole new, this is a whole new character, And it's, and Amy is the queen. Like this person just started talking to me, and it's like, we have to give her that time and space to hear that. Because some of the best stuff of the book is from those voices, from her being open to the creative process. And if we started to go, yeah, but that's affecting our outline in a big way, we kind of cut off some of what could be some of the best parts, right? So we also found if somebody was really willing to go to the mat, like if there was ideas that we were butting heads against, if we really found that person is really sold on this, they're not letting go, it was probably something we should maybe give some time and space to. So we would allow them to run with that for a little while. But no, there were absolutely big things from day one when we started plotting to the end when we're putting prose on the page. But I mean, in a way, it helps that we're all a family because no one's going to go too far,
at the end of the day, you got to look each other in the eye. And
if someone needs to take a walk or move away, we're all going to have Thanksgiving together at the end of the day or something like that. So, but no, there were absolutely, I mean, there's no way that you get three creative individuals in a room and start working on something and there's not disagreements. There absolutely are. But I think just for me, I got so much better from the beginning to the end of, let's give time and space to that, even though it seems crazy or it may be diametrically opposed to what we were trying to build, because it might make us build something better. And now that we're working on book 2, it's like we've had to change quite a bit because of the changes we made to the story from where we started in book 1, because of those amazing things. Characters go where you don't think they're going to go. Voices pop up that you didn't know were going to pop up. And sometimes that's some of the coolest magic that happens. And because they take you in a different place, even though we have broad strokes of it outlined all the way up, you want to go with, you want to give that time and space to let the creative process be a mystery, I guess.
Yeah. It makes me think of that line, art through adversity.
Yes.
It's like when you're in the absolute toughest, grittiest deadline, smallest budget, and that's when you really pull a rabbit out of the hat and get lightning in a bottle,
But I mean, it goes on the flip side as well, Michael. You sat, and I know, oh my gosh, I know you probably have alpha, beta readers. I know your lovely wife probably is your first reader that is an amazing soundboard. None of this, even when we think it's very singular, right? It never happens in a vacuum, actually, I think. Well, for some it might. Everybody's different. But I look at what people like you have done in complete awe, because there are times when some of us, 2 of us, would get in a corner and the third would come in with the idea that gets us out, and we kind of found that strength in having more brains in the room than normal helped us a lot sometimes, so goes both ways.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I listen to what all the voices say. Like, what's that, buddy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like put that on. No. I mean, I won't lie. There have been plenty of times when I've gone to see Kit, and I've said I am absolutely stuck on this idea, and it's driving me up the wall, and she solved it like that. And it's infuriating,
Isn't it? Doesn't it? Just yes.
Yeah.
But it's a whole new perspective, and they can have a 30,000 view that they're not deep in it. And sometimes that is gold, man, to have that outside perspective. Yeah.
Not to mention, there's plenty of times when, like, Kit will give a suggestion. I'm like, no, that is so utterly wrong. And then when I have to explain why that's wrong, I then understand a new angle. And it's that fresh perspective. It all makes sense. Even if it's not the perfect idea, it's just the sounding board can help as well, for sure.
Yes. Yes. You just got to talk yourself out of that corner sometimes, for sure. Okay.
All right.
You ready? This is one that I know is important to both of us. And I loved, and we've already talked about it a bit, the similarities. Tell me about your love and what went into creating an alternate history that goes all the way back and gives an entire new perspective. And this is what I love. I love starting off with something that is so recognizable. I can grab onto it. I'm comfortable with it. But before the end of the first book, I am in a fantasy world. I am in a place that has mystery and magic and is unrecognizable. Why is that important? How did you go about building that? Why was that a big step you wanted to take?
I am so happy you asked me that. I was hoping you would ask me about the history. I've got this big answer locked and loaded. Here we go. Okay, so one of the things I love about urban fantasy is in many ways, it's the whole reason I picked it, is because with urban fantasy, you can draw on so many things.
Yes.
If you're building a regular fantasy world, you've kind of got to commit to one big style, unless you have like a huge fantasy world with multiple continents. But for most fantasy worlds, you got to pick like Western medieval or Eastern European. You got to have an angle. With urban mythology, you can blend it all, and that's the great thing about it. You can draw from so many different mythologies, which I always really wanted to do. But the other thing that always bothers me about the urban fantasy I read is that we have all these magical monsters with immortal lifespans and huge powers, and it's like they've just sat from when they were born and done nothing up until the point when the main character shows up and the story begins. And it's like, there's absolutely no way that all of these powerful figures would not have been impacting human history all along. Yes. So one of the things I really wanted to do was to actually invent a secret society that would fit with existing world history and in many ways justify it. You know, and that was a huge point of it all along. And I've still got so much that I haven't got onto the actual page. And this is a huge part of the reasons why in the third book, we meet Leslie Toussaint, who is a historian, because I wanted a viewpoint to bring in all this history element to explore it more deeply. Because I was just like, after books 1 and 2, I was like, it's going all right, but I've got so much I just want to shove on the page that I can't do it too aggressively. But that's absolutely the point, because I think the more believable it is, the more people are going to get invested, you know? And so I think, especially in book 1, it's the iceberg strategy of you just see the tip of it. But I want to make you feel like it's all there and you just haven't seen it yet. And that was absolutely the goal. But yeah, history is filled with unanswered questions. There are so many mysteries we don't know, so many unsolved murders if you go onto the dark side of the web. But there's so many things we don't understand, which I can't think of any of them right now. But what that always got me, I loved sounds dark, but I loved the Lisbon earthquake. Was something that always fascinated me. It is in the 17th century, and it was right in the middle of a religious festival. It seemed to target the religious festival so specifically. You know, if you ever read about it, it was an earthquake, and it was a festival where everyone had candles, and then the earthquake knocked all the candles over and started a fire, and then a tsunami came in and wiped out Lisbon. And it was like earthquake, fire, water, and I'm like, that's pretty thorough. And literally, it caused a massive national shift towards atheism. because people are like, oh man, God really hates us. It changed public opinion. And I've
Wow.
always been fascinated by just how symmetrical that event was. I was like, there's got to be some way to play with that in story, and that made it into the book, in a more subtle way, but. There's definitely the desire to bring historical parallels into it all the way through. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I always think about things like, the Tunguska event, or where did Amelia Earhart really go, or all these kind of things.
Great example. I couldn't think of any of these before.
What we kind of found when we were working at What We Love is like, you know what? If you can just drop a little bit of reality, just a little bit of a seed to hang some really weird stuff off of, it makes the weird stuff seem a little bit more real. And I think your books do such an amazing job of that. And it's candy to me.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. And you do such a great job of it. And it keeps you turning the pages because, like you say, by book 3, when Miss Toussaint shows up, or not Miss, when they show up, you're starting to get more and more and more, more and more of that steady drip of how things really work. And it keeps you moving forward a lot of times, as much as the characters or the caper that they're involved in.
Yeah. And that too, it touches on a good point, because like we established that Jason and his direct allies, they're very much the underdog in this world, but they've also been working really hard to catch up. And at a certain point, they've got to reach a level where they're at least decently competent and they can hold their own.
Yes.
And I think equipping them with knowledge of what the secret society has been up to all along is a great way to show that they are starting to keep up.
Yeah, and that's so important on their journey as well, right? Because now the adversarial wave can become larger and larger and larger as they build up as well. Well, that's what I'm starting to hope to see coming up in books 4 and moving on. Just a quick break in the action to thank all of our correspondents, directors, and producers on Patreon. These people keep the lights on. They make decisions for us because we don't know what we're doing. We're not great at making the decisions around here. The decisions all the way from what I'm going to read next, what the book club of the month Patreon pick is going to be, but all the way up to video ideas and what we're going to do here on the channel coming up for you. If you're interested or you want to find out how you can be a part of this, right down there in the description box, click the Patreon link. It's got all the answers for you. And once again, thank you to all of these fine people that are helping us build the channel, our correspondents, directors, and producers. Your turn, my friend.
I've got a couple of... I can't pick one. Okay. One of the things that was really fascinating to me, this might be more of a writer's technique sort of question, but it's why the long segments? Because that was something really fascinating to me, because you would have like 8 to 10 chapters in a row of one character, and then 8 to 10 chapters in a row of the next character. So I think I understand it, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Why'd you do that?
We put it together in different ways, and we kind of liked this one by the end. Amy and I both, Jacob hadn't gotten to it yet, are real fans of David Mitchell and Cloud Atlas. And we love kind of like the kaleidoscopic narrative, or the weave narrative, where there's so many strands and so many threads, and you're not quite sure how they all come together. But they do, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end, start to interweave and coalesce and build a shared reality between these characters that you don't necessarily see from the beginning. The other thing was that we always wanted, when we went into this from the very beginning, when we rolled out that huge piece of butcher paper, and we wanted to tell kind of like a foreboding coming apocalypse type of tale, we didn't want the window small. We didn't want it, these are a few characters in Idaho, or, pick a place, right? Sydney, or, whatever. We wanted, if it's going to be an apocalypse, we wanted to have a global apocalypse feel. So we wanted to take the time to go to different areas. And when we started to think about taking that time, we wanted to stay there long enough to where you could start to feel grounded there, and have attachments to the characters and what they're dealing with after this inciting incident. And then we wanted there to be a little bit of hesitancy when we pulled you away to the next one. So we wanted to linger just long enough. We wanted to linger just long enough with each of these chunks, with each of these characters, to where when we pulled you away to the next one, you were kind of like, oh man, I was really liking this person, and now, oh wait a minute, this is kind of cool too. So we wanted that kind of feel as you move through the. Now, whether we got there or not, that's highly debatable. But those were some of the goals. And then the other thing that we really enjoy is that we like to have different. And this is Amy for sure, likes to challenge herself to have different flavors and different feels. If you stay in a place long enough, you can start to take on. You know what? I want to take on an epistolary or frame narrative feel. I want to take on like a decaying gothic feel. I want to take on more of a sci-fi thriller feel here. So you give yourself some different challenges and different flavors as you move through, and hopefully you make it through those hoops well, and again, debatable if we did or not, but those were some of the things
you did.
Those were some of the things that we were all kind of talking about and thinking about as we tried to put it together, and those were some of the reasons why we wanted to stay a little bit longer in some, because usually when you do, and we also thought of it like an epic fantasy world, a multi POV epic fantasy world goes from country to country, land to land, all over the world, but usually it's in much smaller bites. You're jumping POVs quite often, maybe after 10, 12, 15 pages. And we just wanted to challenge ourselves to do it a little bit differently, I suppose. So
that makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking of the classic James Bond trope, where a lot of the older movies would have scenes in different cities and different parts of the world. Right. And you'd have one landmark, and then you'd have a chase scene through a city, and that'd be it. And you wouldn't really engage in the culture or really settle in and explore it that much. So, yeah, that's really insightful. I like that.
That became important to us. We wanted to take the time to, when we went to a different place, say Ghana, when we went to a different place, we wanted to take the time to go, okay, well, what are some of their myths and culture, and how would this inciting incident have affected that? Would they be going back to it? Would they eschew it? And all of that moving forward, hopefully, will grow and pay off. So, we'll see.
Amazing. I feel like I learned a lot from that. Thank you.
Okay. I've got one for you.
Oh, yes.
Okay. What made you make the decision? And this is not from the beginning. In the beginning, this is a very kind of has a lighthearted feel, and we're no problem. And we're following Jason, right?
Yeah.
A lighthearted feel of his journey to become a detective. And I would say before the first book is over, and definitely into book 2, this becomes a story about a power couple, as opposed to one protagonist that you're following. It's truly two people. It's and even more by the end of book 3, but it's truly a couple, a relationship, and all the things that are being built between those two people at the core of this. What made you decide, I'm not going to have like a Dresden or somebody in most of these series that follow that one main protagonist? What made you decide, you know what? The power couple, the relationship is at the core here.
Couple of things. Great question. Really great question. Bit of a complex answer, but I'll do a few. First of all, when I did the first draft of book 1, there were no point of view chapters from Sylvaina's perspective.
Really?
Yeah, and the story didn't quite work without it, because too much of the story relies on her character arc. Yeah, that's all I can say, vaguely speaking. But too much of it, she needed to make important decisions, and we didn't quite get the motivation for that without seeing her perspective. And it was tricky, because in the original draft, Sylvaina was much more dangerous, is how it works. We didn't know if she was a good person or a bad person, and I very much made her unpredictable. And I did have to lose a little bit of that, I felt, in order to make her a knowable character, because she makes such important decisions in the story. So I think it was a good sacrifice. There's still part of me that wishes she could have been scarier in the first book, but it's okay.
I completely agree, because we get that moving on. I mean, we get the unknowable danger thread moving on, but after we're completely attached. So it works so well. Yeah.
Thank you. But the other thing is too, it's a bit complex, but there's a lot of stories I do want to tell in this world, and Jason's not going to be the only point of view character. Um, no, I can't say too much more. I have to leave that as a raffo. But basically, I've never quite liked what I'll call main character syndrome. You know, the idea of a main character being the most important person in the universe. You know, I mean, this might be a dodgy example, but I think of the Twilight Saga. If you've ever read or watched any of that, basically, like Bella Swan walks into a room and suddenly everyone just drops everything and just wants to be friends with her. And then all the vampires want to fight and die to try to save her or to kill her. And it's like, there's literally nothing about her that's actually special, as mean as that sounds. And it's main character syndrome, you know, and I've never liked that because I always think like, my experience of life is that things rarely go my way, and I very rarely have any power to affect change in any meaningful way.
Yes.
You know, so I can't even get my cats to listen to me. You know, like,
cats will never listen to you.
I know, right? I've literally had to lock them in the side room because
that's what makes them cats.
I know, right?
Well, I love the decision you make because by the end of book 3, it's like I would walk into traffic for this relationship.
Good.
You know, so it's I just think, and it was such in a way, a breath of fresh air. And I was like, why? There's always been relationships and romance in a lot of these series, but I've never seen the focus to fully really be dueled to two characters like that as opposed to one.
Good. Thank you. I mean, sorry, technically Portia is a point of view character as well, but
oh yeah, well there's definitely more than those two, but I put those two right at the center.
No, absolutely, you should, yeah. I think that was all I was going to say on that. Yeah, if there was more. Oh no, yeah. So the main character syndrome, basically, I like. With main character syndrome, the point of it is what you get in superhero stories, where you get Tony Stark puts on a suit and he's a one-man army and he takes out all the bad guys, and it makes us feel good and powerful to watch that sort of stuff. So I don't want to mock stories like that, but I also think there's a certain maturity and depth and scope that comes with reading stories where the main character doesn't have things go their way and they're not the center of the universe and things are a lot harder for them. And I think that's while they may not necessarily be the happiest stories, I think they're stories that are going to challenge us more, make us think and learn and grow and get us out of our comfort zone a little bit and get us interacting with a bit more of a realistic depiction of the world, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love these answers because they lead into questions I have coming up. But I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Oh, look, I've got to skip ahead because I'm really interested. One of the things I loved about Discovery so much is the ambitious decision to make the discovery, the inciting event, public knowledge.
Yeah,
that's something that I think so many stories don't do. Like if you ever watch Stargate, there's 10 seasons of this one, 5 seasons of that one, 2 seasons of that one. And the Stargate itself never becomes public knowledge. Sorry if that's a spoiler, you know. And it's always you got to keep it a secret. But I'm like, how would society react to news like that? I feel like that's a big deal. And you guys went there, and I loved it. We saw it. We saw society, fall apart and crumble, or like freak out a lot. So I'm just curious, what was your thought process behind such an ambitious decision?
Oh, that's a really wonderful question because from the very beginning, when we go back, we think about, oh, this is going to be a weird answer, but okay. From our time in theater, we're huge fans of Chekhov, right? And Chekhov had this saying where, if you show a gun in early acts 1 or 2, that gun better go off by act 3. Like that's a rule. The gun has to go off. And me growing up reading and loving Lovecraft, and so much of this like springboards off of that. Lovecraft had so many guns. He had so many Chekhovian guns. Like if this were to happen, all of this unravel. If this were to happen, but they never really all went off, right? Yeah, they were always contained in some way. It was always like some professor in a deep, dank dungeon at Miskatonic University stumbles across something, and he or she knows something, or there's a farm way out in the hinterlands that something happens, so that family on that farm knows something. And if everyone else found out, if this cascaded to the point where, that would be absolute, but that gun never went off. They were very contained and withheld and restrained. So we were like, you know what? What if we just told a story where all of those guns are going to go off?
Yes.
Like that was, and that was one of the goals. Like, you know what?
So good.
It's not contained, it's not restrained, it's not a few people that stumble upon something. Sure, somebody stumbles on something, and then everyone has to deal with it, and all of these guns are going to go off. So that was, I don't know if it was ambitious. We were just, and I'm sure you think the same way when you're working. It's like we were very much working around a table trying to entertain each other, and trying to. You've heard a million times, and I think it's true. You want to create what you want. You want to write the book or create something that you would want to read or see. So we were just trying to have fun and goof off and entertain each other. And that was from the very early on. That was one of the goals of, this is all these guns are going to go off. So that was where that idea germinated from.
Yeah, and it's definitely satisfying, because I think so many stories don't go there. You're right. Yeah. And there is that it's unsatisfying, if you hinted it so much. You're exactly right. That's really cool. And
I love cosmic horror because the idea of it is your idea of what's really going on, your idea of reality, these safety things you built, civilization, social constructs, patriotism, religion, any of these things that you feel bring you comfort, give you a feeling of safety and usefulness in the universe. What if it all started to be stripped away by what the reality truly was? And it's like, can we really tell the story without it getting out to a point where all these things start to become shifting sands under your feet, as opposed to your bedrock of who you are and how you operate? So we really took into, ourselves of, oh, wow, religion, science, government, all these kind of things that we find purpose and safety in. If that's really just illusory and it's shifting sands when this discovery happens, how can we explore that without it really getting out to the point where it affects all that? So
yeah, because that's like an identity crisis, but on like a national level or a humanitarian level. It's a big deal. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Well, we hope
Fantastic
so.
answer.
Yeah.
I really like. Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much. Okay.
So much so, just like one of my favorite aspects of the book. Like, and sorry, I'm just gonna compliment you. Just take it for a second.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Like, you didn't just introduce an ambitious idea; you executed it too. You committed to it. And the story kept coming back to, how is humanity reacting? What are we doing? 1 month after the event. What are we doing 1 year after the event? And the check station updates were just a constant source of entertainment. It was genuinely like one of my favorite parts. Just well done.
We had a lot of fun with those. And Amy is so good with that kind of the check stations and how responses would happen from science, government, different places. Like she has a great imagination for that. And when you put the crown on her for research, it was so perfectly apt because that is absolutely, she deserves it. I want to go into, you have such beautiful and wonderful and amazing themes. And I want to go into one of my favorites here and have you tell me where it came from, why it was important. There's a real theme for each and every character, not just the two that we've talked about, Jason and Sylvana at the center of this maelstrom, right? But all the way out, the captain at his precinct, the detectives that are training Jason, every single one of them is dealing in some way or another with some type of realistic past world trauma that they have to overcome and actualize in some way to where they're comfortable enough in their own skin to operate in this ever-changing world. And I found that to be so moving and so tangible and real. So I just wanted to open up and let you talk about that aspect of this, because from character to character to character, you can point at it.
Oh man, crazy. Okay, so there's a lot there. I mean, like, I'll just be honest for once. So, like, I have trauma in my life. I have complex post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is a lot of fun. I've done a lot of therapy to, to recover over that and learn to manage it. But one thing that it's taught me through my own therapeutic process is that everyone has trauma to some extent. It's just a lot of people aren't aware of it, and they're not conscious of how it's affecting their decisions and their perspectives of the world, And I think, too, most people have a slightly more idealistic perspective that everything happens for a reason. And that if you go through something bad, you'll end up a better person at the end. In my experience, you end up a better person 1 time out of 10. Most of the time, you end up hurting in some way, and that's very normal. Not to mention, too, I think that I won't get into the whole everything happens for a reason, because that's sort of like, it's like, victim blaming, but never mind. But I do think trauma is more normal than I think most people realize, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I also, and I love, too, in Sanderson's work, I love the Cosme. I mean, that's one of his things, to give all of his main characters trauma in some way. And I didn't exactly want to lean into that, but there is an idea of like, wanting to explore that in a way that humanizes these people. Because like we take Jason. Jason's not an emotional person. He's gruff, he's grim, he doesn't know how to be sensitive. He knows how to be, how to say the right words, sort of thing, but he doesn't know how to talk and open up, sort of thing. He's very closed off. And we realize he's learned to do that to survive. And he basically has to reach a point where there's a gun to his head before he's like, okay, now I'll open up, because everything's at stake. And that's common for a lot of people. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I do it. One, because I think it's good characterization. To give people layers. There's there's your professional layer. Like when Jason's at the workplace, he's professional. He's not goofing around. He's not talking about his feelings. And that's how he acts. But when he's with Sylvana, he's very different. And I think that's human nature. We have many masks we wear. I think of Doctor Who. He always says we are all different people at different points in our lives.
That is so true. That is so true.
And that's before he regenerates. One of my favorite all-time quotes. I mean, like, who I am today in my 30s is very different to who I am in my 20s, and so on and so forth. It'll be different to who I am next year. But part of it is I wanted to talk about trauma for good characterization. The other thing is, honestly, I think it's something that I would love to see more people be aware of, or at the very least just have like a casual understanding of it, so that if they do want to explore it further in their own time, they can, and they know that it's normal. That's pretty much it. That's all I had.
I really appreciate it, because we are on one level or another, and others dealing with far more than some of us, but all of us deal with something. All of us have pasts. Anyone that's sharing time and space on this rock floating through space right now is going to have something right there. We're all dealing with something. And I found it just, not only as you start to strip those masks off of these characters and go deeper and deeper, there was something core that helped form them, helped motivate them, helped push them, helped move them, how they deal with other relationships and their own reality, and something that they have to overcome. And I found it such a moving part of the book, and something that I could attach myself to, character to character. Good, so I just wanted to hit you up about that.
Great. Thanks. Well, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but there are a couple of authors who make mental health like their thing, and like there is a little bit of copycatting there. I was like, hey, they do it and they're successful, I'll do it too.
Yeah, completely honest. Absolutely, and be inspired by what works. I love it.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. Okay, one of the things I also liked about Discovery, you brought this up, you brought it on yourself, about how much you love Lovecraftian stories.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I'm really curious about is that your story does share some traits with Lovecraftian lore. So my question is, how did you make it unique? Because this is something that really intrigues me. Because people when it comes to fantasy and sci-fi, they're like, "Oh, it can't be too similar," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. It can be a little bit similar, but you got to have a unique angle on it." You know. So this is also coming from someone who's not that familiar with Lovecraft in general. So, what did you do to deliberately make it different?
Well, I love Lovecraft growing up. I made sure Jakob discovered it and loved it growing up. Amy just doesn't get it, right? So it doesn't get it at all. So a lot of our goals were, if we want to springboard off of this, and it's completely fair because Lovecraft even told his contemporaries when he was writing and creating these worlds and ideas that, hey, take my stuff, play in my sandbox. Like this was one of his big things, right? So it's like, okay, we want to springboard off of this and use this. But we also want to make it to where you never would have had to encounter it before. So we want to take it and then treat it like an Etch-a-Sketch and turn it upside down and shake it and let someone that's just walking in that doesn't even know who H.P. Lovecraft is would still be able to go, oh, that's a pretty crazy first contact story, right? Yeah. Or that urban fantasy with sci-fi elements. We wanted to have that kind of thing. And through writing it, we wanted to kind of show Amy why we love it and explain to her why it works and why we love it. And we were more successful in some areas than others there. But someone leaves and one of the amazing things about being in the indie space is I think you have a lot of contact with your readers, and someone left a comment and it's like, it's not really Lovecraft. It's more a combination of Greek myth and Lovecraft. And it's like, I love that. I don't know if they meant for it to be complimentary because I think they're a big Lovecraft fan. But in Lovecraft, it's like, oh, these are forces you just can't understand. And in ours, we've tried to make it to where, and I can't go too deep into it, but there's more of we have more of a square on the board than we do classically with Lovecraft. We're able to maybe make a little bit more of a difference in what's happening here, and that'll become more and more clear as the series goes on. Than Lovecraft would have us as people on Earth, right? So to do that, we had to change some things, and there be reasons why, because we wanted to explain to Amy why we love it, and we wanted to make it ours, and we wanted to make it completely open to anybody that wanted to give it a chance. But it absolutely, if you are a Lovecraft fan, you will see a lot of things like, oh, that's this, oh, that's that. But if you don't, hopefully it doesn't withdraw from anything. But so that's how we tried to make it hopefully enough hours as we could.
Awesome. My takeaway is I've got to go try some Lovecraft at some point. That's stand
yeah, I would absolutely. Yeah, I would say if you want to try like Call of Cthulhu at the Mountains of Madness or Dunwich Horror, all of these are like, you'll read them in an hour. They're short stories. But his prose is very interesting. It's interesting stuff. It's absolutely a product of its time. But sometimes that can be fun and enlightening in a lot of ways. So, okay, I have another theme question.
Ooh, another one. All right.
Yeah, I love this one. This one is you do this so well. You're telling stories here, and again, this is urban fantasy where we strip the curtain back and we start to see. There's these long-lived individuals, like, to the point where we would consider them near immortal, right?
Yes.
So what does that do to a lived experience and what we would consider a lifetime of human experience, right? It's got to be different because it's elongated to that point. And what does that mean when we start to look at the historical thread that you add into this as far as changing ideas of social norms and social mores? And I love how you go about these generational ideas of what should be proper and what should be observed and what should be normal with a very modern world that these stories are being told in, and the clashes that that makes upon some of these creatures that have lived so long and seen so much. So the shifting ideas of social mores that you weave into this, I think, are just so lovely. And I just want to open it up and let you speak about that a little bit.
Oh, I won't lie, that was tricky. That was genuinely tricky. I had to do a lot more research into it than I expected to, and found myself watching a few like historical shows, like The Tudors. I watched a few episodes of that, just like things from different contexts, but trying to also just grasp what was the politically relevant topics of the day. You know, because I don't want to get too political, but one of the things that strikes me is that things that used to be hot topics 20 years ago aren't as hot topics today. You know, I think of Martin Luther King Jr. as a big example. Very, very politically sensitive topic, and now he's quite widely celebrated. It wasn't during his lifetime, but people often forget that that aspect of it. You know, and so that's something I wanted to try to bring into it, the idea of like what was normal for them, as alien as it would be now. And I think at the very least I managed to make it look like I knew what I was doing. But that's the whole thing with writing like immortal characters or long-lived characters. They are tricky. They're very tricky. Couple of things. For one, I always wanted them to be human. That was a big part of it, because I know sometimes people do immortal characters which have almost like transcended the human experience, and I never wanted to quite go that. I didn't want them to have like a disconnect or almost like a sociopathic disconnect from humanity and from mortals and from empathy, but I absolutely wanted them to be human beings with their own psychological conditions and their own belief systems and all that kind of stuff. And one of my favorite things is trying to play around with the language, which was a lot trickier than I intended. My editor basically smacked me on the side of the head. It's like, you do not understand archaic language half as well as you think you do.
Oh no. We got smacked a couple times too. I know exactly how that feels. Yeah.
But like one of my favorite characters is Desdemona. One of the Vigiles who works for the Imperium. She uses archaic speech, very, very much Shakespearean language, which was quite tricky. But one of the things about her is because she's such a stubborn person, she refuses to adapt her language to the current times. Where there are many other immortals, some are older than her, like High King Reynold, for one.
Yes,
he speaks much more naturally, doesn't he? And it's one of there's even a line to explain it. I think early in the introduction where he talks about how every century or so he has to relearn English as it's spoken currently, and it's very true. That was a big part of it, because I want to. This is just a special interest of mine, is how much languages change over time.
Oh,
it's
and that's only become accelerated since the internet and things like that. Yeah, social media. Yeah.
Look, that's debatable, because the more written the language is, the more it solidifies and stays the same. So like one of the languages that's seen the least change is Arabic, because Arabic cultures invented, had a much more literate population. They were all reading and writing, whereas for English, we had a much more exclusive literacy rate. It's a fascinating thing. There's a video online if you ever want to look it up. It's like, if you traveled back 1,000 years, could you speak your language and be understood? And it goes through all the languages of the world. And there are certain ones, I think Japan and Arabic were the two that were just like, they've barely changed over millennium. It's crazy.
Wow.
But
So
English, 500 years ago, completely different language.
Completely.
And 500 years before that again, because it blended with the Norse language, and before that it was Anglo-Saxon. Again, this is my academic background, taking over. But it's stuff like that we just don't realize. We don't realize how much things have changed over just even a few hundred years, even a few decades. And so much of the book was trying to latch onto those old things and drag them into the future, and then contrast them with the present day as much as possible.
Yes.
And I'm glad that came through. I still
It
feel
worked
like I was
so well.
bluffing most of the time. But
Oh no, Mike, it
yeah.
works so well. Not only in these things you talk about, like in the broader world, but also the characters, how they see their world, how they see their relationships, what they're willing to rebel against from the past because of how they see social norms and relationships and realities now. And it played so well in character motivation as well as the broader spectrum of how the world works and has worked. So I just thought you did it beautifully.
Great. Oh, that's reassuring. I'll go do it again in book 4.
Bring it on. Bring on book 4. All right, your turn.
Now, I was going to ask we've just gone over an hour, right? I don't have my glasses. I can barely.
I think we'll do like one more each, and we'll wrap it up from here.
All right. Okay. Well, look, one of the questions I really wanted to ask you was quite simply, of all the amazing accomplishments that are in the book, what are you most proud of?
Oh wow.
What do you like the most? What do you think like, oh, that one, I absolutely nailed that? What's your favorite?
Oddly enough, I come back to a scene where we all had such a hand in it. With three, with three artists working together, sometimes there are some sections one will take the lead and it's like, oh, I see this. And, then we're so lucky to have Amy, who everything distills through that lens. So it doesn't look like three very different writing styles, But there are chunks, and there's one chunk where, and it's not really a spoiler, but there's a discovery, and when the discovery's made, there's some reporters coming to check out what's happened, right?
Yes.
In that scene, I always come back to that scene because we couldn't quite get it the way we wanted it to feel. We couldn't quite get it. We wanted it to have like a bizarre undertone sense of humor that cuts things. We wanted it to be very tense. We wanted it to be kind of chilling. We wanted it to be operating on all these levels. So that's one that we all had such a hand in. We couldn't quite get it right. So Jakob, who has a filmmaker background, basically took the time to storyboard it. And this is the way this is the way I would light it. This is the way the light would be reflected from the water. This is where the blocking would be. This is where my camera would be. This is how we would dolly travel from the deck of the ship down into the under the cabins and things. And this is what we would find. And here's the angles we would take. He took the time to lay all of that out. Right. I took the time to come in, and it's like let me improv some dialogue of something that, might be kind of off the wall. Everything was distilled through Amy's ability she's one of my favorite writers of all time, to distill it through this prose style that is like, and when it all came together, I those scenes like that we all had a hand in. And it's hard to, like, the three of us will look at that scene now, and we have. And I'll go, oh, I love that line. And someone will say, well, yeah, it's yours. And it's like, no way, that's not mine. That was not my line. It was yours. And we honestly don't remember what the other one did. It was just some kind of strange alchemy that all of it came together. So I'm most proud when I look back at like scenes like that, when we were kind of firing on all cylinders and all bringing our strengths, as weird as they were and different as they were, together.
I had a funny feeling that would be your answer, that you'd be most proud of like the team effort when everyone worked together. The big softy John. I love it.
You knew it. I got one last question for you. And I really want to get this in there before we break up, Michael, because I love, when I come to a book, I love so much of the motivation and subtext and themes and stuff like that. But I don't want people to get the bad or the wrong idea about what the series or these books are. These things rock and roll. There is so much adrenaline fueled, charged action in this series. They are just so much fun to read. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your ability and what you do to balance that action from character or action from poignant moments or action, because it's such a wonderful balance. And there's so much. As I said, it's kind of like a case file 1 to 2 to 3. And by the time you get to the end of other questions, I don't want to hit you with too much, but how do you find that perfect balance? How do you find that perfect balance?
Oh, wow. That's such a complimentary question. I love it. Oh man, I'm blushing. Okay, a couple of things. A big part of it is I'm a massive planner. I planned most of these books quite thoroughly in advance. I mean, of course, there are definitely a couple of curveballs or a few moments where I was like, I'm absolutely stuck here. This did not work how I wanted it. But a lot of it is planning ahead. How do I balance all those tones? One thing I always try to do is I'm always trying to accomplish two things at once. You know, if we're investigating the scene, I'm trying to show a little bit of Jason's personality in it as well. I'm trying to foreshadow a couple of things. There's a lot of juggling and trying to keep it subtle. It's surprising how much you can do at the same time if you're sneaky about it. There's definitely a bit of that. But a lot of it is just, I guess, pacing and a lot of practice. I think you got to remember, like, I was striving to be traditionally published for years. The Immortal Investigations is technically the 9th book I wrote, which I don't want to think about sometimes. that was a long, like, decade of striving, like, and not just like, when I say to some people, like, I was working hard to be a writer, I wasn't just like working in my spare time. It was a major focus of my life. Yeah, and I was doing all the door knocking, I was doing all the pitching, and just getting knockback after knockback, you know? And it was when I wrote what became the Immortal Investigations, and I did the round of traditional publishing and got all the knockbacks. I was like, you know what? Time to indie publish this thing. You know, I believe in this one, I'm proud of it, you know, which was absolutely the right call. But one of the reasons why I think the pacing works and juggling tones and going back is just the fact that I've read a lot and I've written a lot, and I've got it's an experience thing. It's, I don't know, I don't want to just say it's instinctive, because that's a crap answer. Like, just go figure it out. It's like,
it's just, you know what? It's just being Cronk the Book Guy. That's just the way it works.
It's the hair, man.
It's the hair, baby. No, you know what? You worked so hard for so long, and you dreamed for so long, and it just shows. You know how they say it's like the 10,000 hours to kind of master something or be good at something. And I'm sure you put that time in this creative medium to try and tell your stories and build your worlds. And now when it's time to go out there and build an audience, we get to reap all the rewards of all of your hard work. And I just wanted to thank you for it, Michael, because such a wonderful series, my friend.
I appreciate that. Has my camera frozen up?
It's frozen a little bit, but that's okay, because we're just about to wrap up. I think it might even be my internet. So we've been going for a little bit over an hour. Michael, thank you so much for giving me
sorry
your
about
time.
The camera, everyone. But
it's all
thanks,
good.
John. Yeah, no, you can still hear me.
You know what?
Oh no.
I still have your voice. It's perfect timing.
Sorry, everyone.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
We will catch you next time.
The gods have spoken.
The gods have spoken that we were long-winded enough. Michael, you're such a gentleman. Thank you, my friend, so much for your time.
No, thank you, John. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, man. And thank you, too, for rescheduling when I got sick and couldn't make it a few days ago. I appreciate that. You're a gentleman, and you're such a professional as well. Incredible
my
courtesy. Just so much respect. Always a pleasure every time.
My pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much.